Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
I'd like to call the special meeting of the Pontiac City Council to order. At this time, invocation. Councilman Parker, can you have the honors with Kathy Lee James?
Thank you, President Pro Tem. This afternoon, we will have our prayer delivered to us, our invocation by Pastor Kathy Lee James.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you this afternoon for the blessings that you've bestowed upon us this day and every day. Father, we ask as we come to make decisions for our city that you would give us the wisdom and the understanding that we need. We pray that we would be able to make good decisions in regard to these issues on today. We ask your blessings over the council, over the administration, and your blessings over the city as a whole. These we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I just want for us to have a moment of silence of any of our residents that we have lost since the last time we met. We'd like to keep those family and friends in our prayers. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please have a roll call of council members present?
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis, Nicholson, Parker,
Here.
Rutherford.
Present.
There is a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Actually, we need no authorization to excuse council members from the meeting because Councilman McGinnis is on the way. He's caught in traffic. At this time, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Point of information,
Yes.
are we excusing Councilman?
I haven't received any text from anyone about anybody being excused from the meeting tonight, Councilwoman.
Okay.
Okay. So, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, supported by Councilman Parker, that we approve tonight's agenda. Roll call, Madam Secretary. Let me see, roll call, Madam Clerk. Please forgive me.
You're okay. Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
5 yeas.
Thank you. That motion passed. Can I get a motion to move public comment up?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, supported by Councilman Parker, that we move public comment up. We're going to actually move it up right before resolutions. Can I get roll call?
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas.
Thank you. That passes as well.
Point of order.
Yes.
Can you let administration let technology know that it's not up on on our social media, nor is it up on YouTube. The meeting is actually not up. You can't see the visuals.
Okay, thank you. I think Deputy Mayor has heard you.
All right, thank you.
Public comment. Oh, the president is coming in. First is Dr. Deidre Waterman.
Hello, and thank you for moving public comment up to earlier before you have the discussion of the resolutions. Because since there is no agenda address on this particular agenda, we wouldn't have had a chance to address the agenda items before you today. And I did come to address the priority waste contract, which you had postponed from passing the contract last Tuesday because you didn't have the contract. And so that's why we're having the special meeting today. It's a very important contract, probably the most important contract that you pass for the city in addition to the public safety. But this is the longest, and particularly because you're considering 10 years. That's a long time. And this is the first time the city has had a chance to devise our own contract since the one passed by the emergency manager some years ago, which was a 20-year contract, which was a horrible contract and caused us all kinds of problems, and I experienced during my tenure as mayor. So the only problem is that as your council person, Melanie Rutherford, just reported, the agenda for this meeting was not posted, and so no agenda packet materials were posted, including the contract that you're considering. So people who are here want to speak to that, want to know about it, don't have it available. So that's just one factor. And I think our new deputy clerk who is here didn't realize that it's been a long-standing tradition of the clerk, city clerk, that if materials weren't available and posted in timely fashion for the public to have availability, that they would have paper copies. And I understand those are what's coming shortly, yes. But that doesn't help me address it right now because a couple of things I wanted to make sure that were in that contract, and sure you were considering that. I don't have them, so I'm going to have to depend upon you and hope that you've read it so that you know that it's there. One of the priorities of the contract, of the priority contract, I wanted you to make sure of was that you're going to also lease, according to what you said Tuesday, lease the waste transfer station to them for $1 million a year at the Collier Road landfill. I wanted to make sure that that did not include the land in the front of that property that could be used as a DPW yard. We badly need another DPW yard, and this is fully usable. The mayor said we'd have to spend $10 million to get a new one. Why should we spend $10 million? We already have one that can be repurposed. That the former finance DPW director had said that would be perfectly well adaptable, and we've just been waiting for you to use it. Why spend $10 million that the city doesn't have for something and make somebody else rich by buying their property when the city can save that money and still have the DPW yard that means? I hope as you look at the contract, you'll make sure that that is not included and that's still available to the city for use for the citizens.
Thank you, Dr. Deidre Waterman.
Point of information. I know, I have no idea. I was asking the clerk, just to be clarity, for my first 2 pages, not for the actual contract. We were actually given the contract 2 days ago. I just wanted to point it out so that could be corrected publicly and not said privately. Thanks so much. Bye.
Did you get the pages that you needed?
Yeah, I just need the first. You know how I always have the first 2 to write down, so I don't know why that was invoked, because that's what I was referring to. Just like to clear people up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Wendell T. Woods.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Thank you. The historical point of question and clarity, the last meeting, the city attorney was saying that she got involved in the negotiations only 2 weeks prior to Tuesday. That's a question when she mentioned, because Melanie Rutherford was asking her when did the negotiations start, and the purchasing agent said she had been involved ongoing, but the city attorney said she was only involved in negotiation of the contract that we're looking at now only 2 weeks before Tuesday. That's a question of clarity. The landfill, that was sold, is that correct? and what was the amount of the price? And the issue about the information of the goes to a city council meeting that Dr. Waterman had mentioned about things posting, what is the policy of city council about postings of contracts that are going to be reviewed? If they're not on the website, will those, as she was indicating, those packets should be available to citizens? So that's a question of clarity that we don't have. We don't have, I can't look at the contract, as a citizen. So thank you, that's it. But continue the good work. I appreciate all that you're doing, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Point of information, just for the community's benefit, the contract is available. The agenda for this meeting is posted on the city's website. So if you do go to the City of Pontiac website, you can pull up the 486-page agenda for today.
It's been
Yes.
Mr. Chuck Johnson.
Thank you very much, Chuck Johnson. I want to first, as a citizen and a taxpayer of this city and the community, I want to first apologize for the noose that was put around our purchasing agent's neck with questions that she didn't have anything to do or say about it as it relates to her job working for this city. So I'm apologizing to you, Ms. Martin, for the way you were treated on last Tuesday. The next question I want to make, or comment I want to make, is regarding, has the council had an opportunity to do any research on this proposed company, Priority Waste? I've been working in the Flint area for a few days in this month, and I come to realize that comments was made about their performance that they have under contract with the city of Flint. Now, that's just hearsay or conversation, so I'm not going to go any further with that. Next thing is a 10-year contract with a company that you know nothing about, have had no opportunity to research. I don't think you have. 10 years is too long. Start with 5 years, and if it works out and thing goes like it should in all cases, then we can increase their contract. As it relates to the transfer station and the landfill, Collier Road landfill, I don't know why, and I've asked this council and I've asked other councils and I've asked other mayors why we are not using that facility for our own purposes. There is a facility there that has the necessary buildings, property, space, you name it, and the money that we're paying an outside company for space that we don't need to have to, and it's not what we want. Anyways, we have the Collier Road landfill to our use. The transfer station, if we wasn't going to use that, what we should have did was went to the state of Michigan and got a license, a state license that could have been afforded to this city so that we can either rent or lease that landfill for that $1 million or $1.5 million. People, these garbage companies be glad to rent a space like that. And I don't know how many of you have been out there to even know where the transfer station is or how it operates. I'd be more than happy if you get a key. I'll take you out there and show you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. President McGinnis, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Due to the unique nature of today's meeting, was there anyone that wished to have spoken, to speak to the agenda, or for public comment that did not have an opportunity to sign up? All right, hearing none, thank you, Pro Tem Carrington. Public comment is concluded. We are now at the agenda items of the day. I am going to ask for a motion to suspend the rules for us to take up an item not currently on the agenda. That is something we considered and voted on Tuesday night. But when we voted on it Tuesday night, there wasn't a move and a second. That was for the budget amendments that were unanimously approved for the fiscal year. And so I just want to make sure we take this final step to make sure it can't be called into question because there wasn't a motion and a second. And I apologize in my haste of trying to move us along Tuesday night that my brain didn't catch that. So With that, is there a motion to
Moved by
suspend the
Carrington.
rules to take up that item not currently on the agenda? It's been moved by Pro Tem Carrington and seconded by Councilman Rutherford that we move to suspend the rules in order to take up an item not on the agenda. That's the adoption of the budget amendment, a proposed budget amendment that we considered and contemplated on Tuesday night. All right, so any clarity needed on the motion to suspend the rules, which is not approving the budget amendment? It is about whether we're willing to suspend the rules to take it up now. Hearing no further discussion or clarification, Chief Assistant Clerk, roll call on the motion to suspend the rules.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
6 yeas.
All right, that motion to suspend the rules is passed. Now, is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving the following budget amendments for various departments for fiscal year 2023-2024? And if this motion moves, we'll go into detail. If it doesn't, then I won't go into further detail. But is there a motion to adopt the resolution approving the budget?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. So, if you were following along at City Council meeting on Tuesday, it already went through there. But we are talking about general fund balance increase of $808,000, $592 to the Fund 101 General Fund. And that's because of increased revenues. We want to make sure before the fiscal year ends that everything is balanced out for the different general ledger accounts. So Fund 202 Major Streets, fund balance change of $0. Fund 212 Senior Activities Millage, fund balance decrease of $83,200. Fund 249 Budget Inspection Fund, fund balance increase of $90,000. Fund 284 Opioid Settlement Fund, fund balance increase of $220,400. And Fund 285 ARPA fund balance change to $0. Fund 659 Insurance Fund, fund balance decrease of $268,200. So the minutes that we have in front of us that are draft, we haven't taken them up today, but the draft minutes spell that out as well. And so this is us just making sure that we procedurally don't miss the step of it being moved and seconded, so that way it would be a valid motion. And then we'll update the minutes to remove that item or document that it wasn't ultimately adopted on Tuesday, but it'd be adopted today as a budget amendment. Any discussion, further discussion? Again, the state of Michigan requires that each of the line items don't have a zero balance, so now that we know where the dust is settling of money coming in and money going out, we want to make sure it's neat and tidy on the books. Any further discussion? Yes.
I do have a question. So if we wanted to add another amendment, we have to wait till Tuesday, because it's something that I want to talk about in regards to I want to say it right, the right way. What are they voting on? The change of the
Charter Commission?
Charter Commission.
Well, this is for the concluding fiscal year that ends in 2 days.
Okay.
So there is already money in the current budget for the Charter Revision Commission to communicate. There's no amendment needed.
Okay.
They were seeking an amendment for the new fiscal
That's
year.
what I was referring to for the new.
Yep, so this would not be that action.
Okay.
Again, this is closing out, a partial closeout step of the current concluding fiscal year. Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Chief Assistant Clerk, on adoption of the resolution approving the budget amendment.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker, Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
6 yeas.
That motion carries. The resolution is adopted. Now we'll continue the regular agenda. Before I take up a motion, I would like clarification from the administration. There is a potential resolution to approve a 60-day extension of the current expiring contract for trash pickup in the city of Pontiac. And I'd like to understand the rationale, because what we have on the agenda itself is the contract with a 10-year term. So I'm going to give the floor to the mayor administration to help provide clarity to what is becoming continually ambiguous and frustrating scenario. Mayor and deputy mayor, what's the scoop?
Yeah, thank you, President McGinnis. Our recommendation is to approve the new 10-year contract that's on the agenda. I believe that our legal director, Joanne Gurley, just wanted to include an alternative option in case council balked at entering into the 10-year contract. Is that accurate, legal director?
That is accurate.
Thank you for that context. I appreciate us having that safety release valve, but so I will not have us take that up unless and until the primary proposal before us doesn't pass muster with City Council. Thank you for that. I didn't want to entertain one motion before the other, depending on how the council and the administration wanted to take it up. Okay. Item number 1 on the agenda is a resolution to authorize the mayor or deputy mayor to execute a city contract with Priority Waste to provide waste management services to the City of Pontiac's residents for a term of 10 years. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington, for us to consider this resolution authorizing the entering and executing of this city contract. All right, so for those that are tuning in now or later, it's Friday, and we do not normally hold Friday meetings. This is a special meeting of the Pontiac City Council. Our city charter requires that we must meet, our current city charter requires that we must meet at least once per week, or that we meet weekly. That weekly meeting is already satisfied. It was Tuesday. Our regular meetings are Tuesdays at 6 p.m. This special meeting was scheduled by the City Council because the administration did not have prepared in time a contract or extension of a contract that ensured there wasn't an interruption of regular trash pickup for the residents of the City of Pontiac. It's already been referenced in the past, but just to give you some context, 20 years ago, the City of Pontiac was in a very hard financial place. We had trash pickup services in-house, city employees running city trucks on city routes with city facilities and city waste transfer stations and at various times city landfills. But when it comes to cost of scale, many communities in Michigan and Metro Detroit are no longer in that direct trash business. It is not as cost effective to do it on a smaller scale, and it can be very, very difficult and expensive. If you think about one garbage truck and how much it costs to buy one new or to service and maintain and run and insure and all that stuff, and that's just one truck. And we got 250 miles of lane roads in our city. That's a lot. That's a big financial burden. And when the city was getting the legs knocked out from underneath them 20 years ago by General Motors further and further shrinking and the tax base further and further shrinking, a dire decision had to be made on the quick. And that was to privatize the trash services in the City of Pontiac. And that was done with a 20-year contract with very unfavorable terms 2 decades ago. In 2 days, that very difficult and unfavorable terms sunsets. It concludes because it's a 20-year contract. Now, what is before the City Council with hours to spare is a contract that sets a new 10-year trash pickup service in place. The City Council has already expressed our frustration that there would not have been more ample time for deliberation, research, review, discussion, public input, and then a decision with ample window in between the transition from the outgoing contract to whatever comes next. So, on behalf of the people of Pontiac and on behalf of the City Council, let me again reiterate our disappointment that this final decision has to be made literally at the 11th.99th hour, because Tuesday night would have been the 11th hour. We did not, however, have a contract or tangible terms that we felt comfortable locking the people and taxpayers of Pontiac into without council being able to review it more thoroughly. We appreciate that the staff has worked hard at their respective roles in the process, but clearly a lot remains to be desired, so that way this final moment didn't have to be so close to the wire. So it's been moved and seconded that this proposal is the one that we'll consider. So we'll work hard at this very inconvenient time for the people and city council. And I'm sorry I was a few minutes late. On the last day of the fiscal year, my day job, I had to cut that short to be able to do here to fulfill this obligation. And I don't take it lightly. It's a big deal. We do not want a single trash route for a single week to be interrupted for the residents, because that would be extremely painful and gross, but very painful for all of us residents, and we don't want that. So City Council will continue to look for ways to make sure that, to the best of our ability as the legislative branch, we are moving heaven and earth to compel, urge, annoy, remind, shame, any steps that we can take so that the executive branch executes, negotiates, gets the best terms. So I look forward to us learning about whether that is here today. And with that, we give the floor to the mayor and administration to present the terms of this contract. And because this is an extraordinary situation where there hasn't been ample time for everyone to thoroughly review it, I will have to painfully go through much more of this contract with a lot of standard elements. So I'm sorry to have to do that, but again, this is serious. This is one of the 3 big contracts that we as the city have, and it's obviously for a very long term. So we're not going to take it lightly. Mayor and administration, you have the floor.
I want to ultimately turn it over to our legal director, Joanne Gurley, to get into all of the details. But as we shared on Tuesday, at a high level, the key provisions of this contract are that it's for a period of 10 years. We do not think it's wise to enter into a contract longer than that. It, unlike the city's existing contract, allows for weekly bulk pickup of large items, up to 2 of those items each and every week. That allows more frequent bulk pickups than the once every 2-week pickup arrangement currently. But it also makes sure that people don't have to remember which week that bulk pickup is occurring. So there are a lot of benefits to making sure that that bulk pickup happens every single week. So we're excited about that. In addition, the rate in terms of the weekly rate charged per household is actually a little bit less, slightly less, than the current rate that is in our existing contract. So we're paying a little bit less in year 1 than we currently do, and we're getting better service. In addition, Priority has a number of mechanisms, including cameras on the truck, on all the trucks, to make sure that collection occurs when it's supposed to, that addresses aren't missed. And they've agreed to a penalty clause whereby they would be on the hook to pay the city for missed addresses if they don't pick up garbage or promptly remedy the missed pickup within 24 hours. Lastly, and I'll allow Joanne to get into some additional items, but the last item that I'm going to mention is, well, 2 items actually. One is that there is a 2.5% inflation factor that increases the charge that Priority makes per address by 2.5% each year during the 10 years. That's roughly in line with historical inflation trends, although much lower, obviously, than recent inflation. And then lastly, they've agreed to pay $1.3 million to the city that will effectively serve as an offset to the amount that they're charging for the pickup in exchange for being able to use the waste transfer station at the Collier Road landfill. And with that, I'll turn it over to our legal director.
Good evening, council, administration, residents. What we're going to do this evening is look at the terms of the priority waste agreement, which is for 10 years, which has been stated. Council President, thank you for the background information on the previous waste management contract. So with that, I will go through what has been negotiated. So as we stated, this is a 10-year deal that goes through June 30th, 2034. The weekly rate would be $3.85 per household for trash removal and yard waste pickup. There is a 2.5% cap on any annual rate increases, as has been stated. There is weekly bulk pickup of up to 2 items. And currently, we have dumpsters in the back of City Hall where there's weekend recycling for people to drop off. That will continue. And then there are varying penalties for missed pickups or other service problems in our contract, which ranges anywhere from $100 and up. One of the things we're also excited about is the city's refuse cart assistance program, our CAP for short, where up to 50 seniors or disabled individuals will be assisted with getting their dumpsters back and forth from the curb. And that program will be based on application to the city. So it will be based on the city's application. Thereafter, if there are more than 50, it would be at a rate of, I believe, $8.92. The next item is Priority Waste will pay the city the $1.3 million per year to use and operate the transfer station at the Collier Road landfill. And something that currently happens are the free days for residents to drop off garbage at the transfer station. So currently, I understand that that's 3 weekends in April and 1 in May, and this may be an actual increase in that. I think previously it may have just been 3 weekends. And then we've also asked for a performance bond, and Priority Waste has agreed to make it a $500,000 performance bond. Something that was brought up on Tuesday dealt with community benefits. So what was negotiated, and of course these are non-binding, but these are things that we will, make sure are included and that we have a dialogue on these issues. First is there's a 20% of the employees who work in Pontiac would be Pontiac residents. Next, we are requiring an annual job fair. And then thirdly, there will be an annual report to City Council related to the number of employees with Priority Waste that are Pontiac residents. The next item has to do with the 30 free roll-up dumpsters every contract year at no charge for community cleanups. And so what we asked for was some assistance in blight elimination and trying to reduce, if not eliminate, illegal dumping. And so this is what was negotiated, that those 30 free roll-up dumpsters would be available to reduce blight. There will be no transportation or pickup fees, and then there will be a discounted disposal fee. So currently in the contract, when the city brings waste from street sweeping or illegal dumping to the transfer station, we are charged $35 per ton. Here, because we are getting the discounted rate, we would be charged $15 a ton. And that concludes the major items that are in this contract. and I welcome any questions.
Okay, for this round, questions from City Council. The first two hands I've seen are Councilman Goodman, followed by Councilman Rutherford.
I can remove myself for now.
Councilman Rutherford.
Okay, so this is my first question. You said at point number 7, I'm sorry, no charge for the city refusal assistant program for up to 50 seniors. We have more seniors that need help with assistance. 50 is not enough. And we have individuals that have disabilities. 50 is not, and that's not enough. So that means we currently have 100 people that's on that list already. So what happens to the ones that have legal disabilities? Let's say I'm blind. Let's say I have multiple sclerosis. Let's say I have no legs, and the first 50 spots are gone. So what happens after that? And then you also said that we have to pay $8. How is that fair to the residents? Because there are people that had they didn't charge. The last company didn't charge us, but put a limitation on how many of the people with disabilities and seniors could get this type of assistance. So why are they doing it? So
All right, yeah, let's find out more about this. So when you're saying no charge, you mean no charge to the city of Pontiac, correct?
For up to 50, and my understanding is that there's only 40 that are presently on the list.
So currently, that would cover or satisfy the current utilization, and City Council will work to ensure that residents know about this opportunity. But what is the outcome of those for the 51 and beyond? The charge would be incurred by the city or by the resident? Mayor Grimel to field that one.
Yeah, so all of these charges up front are incurred by the city, and then any overage is charged to residents in a uniform way as part of the tax rolls. So none of the aged or disabled individuals who exceed 50 would themselves be charged. What would happen is that charge would be rolled into the total amount. That total amount would be offset by the $1.3 million for the waste transfer station and by the sanitation millage. And then any overture to that would be put on all of the residents. Now, we do verify or try to verify that those who utilize that program actually need that assistance so that we're not having every resident say, I want people to come up and grab the garbage. But currently, we have fewer than 50 people who actually utilize that service per Vincimenez.
And the other thing that's worth inquiring about, the city of Pontiac, if the need was greater, the city of Pontiac would be able to enter into some creative initiatives to handle that or expand it. But what does the current expiring contract stipulate? Are there a number of spots in our cab, if you will, that the outgoing service provider is providing complimentary or gratis as part of it, or was it something that wasn't identified in the previous contract?
For that answer, I am going to defer to the purchasing manager. Do you have that information, Alicia?
There was not a limit identified in the Onyx agreement, the 20-year agreement. So there was no cap on providing that service.
Okay. So obviously the city's back is against the wall. It's this or doomsday. So we can look at options for how we can ensure the program can still service residents with disabilities and with those seniors that are not physically able to take their cart from their property to the curb and back. But so Onyx, that was the private provider that we entered the initial contract into in 2004. That was the name then?
Yes. May I say some additional verbiage regarding this matter?
Sure, yep.
So when we were looking at the number of seniors or disabled that were served for the past 20 years, that number was way under the 50. So when we were looking at contract terms and they said 50, we believe that that was a good number because we had never exceeded that. So just wanted to provide that background of how we came to negotiate that part of the agreement.
Okay. Councilman Rutherford?
And while I understand that, I know that there's more people signed up for it because oftentimes that's the number one answer. That's a question that's asked to me because I have an older population in my district. So I'm worried about the people that are, we have a large amount of baby boomers. That's an issue for me. I feel like that should have been better negotiated. And I agree that our back is against the wall, but it just saddens me that that wasn't something that you could give up so freely because you're getting so much for this contract. Yeah, that's all.
Councilwoman James, microphone.
My first question is on the 2.5 cap on the annual rate increases. How is that figured? Is that an automatic 2.5 increase? Is that based on some standard rate of inflation? Is it based on something, or is it automatic?
Well,
Anybody know?
Mayor Grimal.
It's automatic, so whether inflation is 1% or 5%, the increase is still 2.5%, is my understanding. But is that yours, Legal Director?
that is my understanding. And also, just for reference, we do have priority race representatives here this evening for additional questions.
We're going to delve into these first set of terms, then go to some guts of the proposed contract, to which, of course, priority waste representatives might, as subject matter experts, might be able to field better. Anything further on that question line, Councilwoman James?
Well, I just want to say, if it's automatic, that even though we're starting out at a good rate, the 3.85 per week, which we have said that across the board from looking at other communities, that is in line. If this annual increase is automatic, over the course of 10 years, we might very well be at the top of the rate list at the end of the 10 years. Because for that to be automatic, you know, I'm wondering, where is that going to leave us 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, 7 years, if we are looking at an automatic 2.5 increase? It seems to me it should be based on some kind of measure. Is that typical for these contracts?
Presently, it is what happens for most contracts. Unfortunately, there's always an increase that is made for inflation, so we are well below. But for example, we do have like a spreadsheet that kind of chronicles what those increases would be over the life of this contract. So in year 2, the price would increase to $3.95, and then $4.04, $4.15 in the 4th year, $4.25. So basically, it's going up about 10 cents per year, per week. And ultimately, in the 10th year, it is slated to be approximately $4.81, which is still below where the initial cost was proposed. So I believe the original price per week may have been about $4.85. I'm not sure, but I know that what the 10th year is below what I believe the original starting point was for this contract.
This is, when you say that, you're talking about the original contract with Onyx?
No, I'm talking about the original negotiation as stated with priority.
Okay, all right. Is the 2.5 below or above the inflation rate?
I don't have an answer for that, actually.
In general, I mean, it doesn't.
So typically, we do look at the I'm sorry.
Please come to the microphone, please.
Thank you. I apologize. So typically, we do look at the consumer price index to see where the costs are fluctuating. In this particular case, we were looking at like communities and where their contracts were going. And so all of the contracts that are being executed currently have all these they have these increases of this nature. So like the Sterling Heights, we use that as a comparison. They have increases each year too, just like we do.
Okay.
So it's not like we're just the only community being charged these increases. But if council would like, I can give you an analysis of the consumer price index to see what the rates would be from period to period.
For further response, Mayor Grimal.
Yeah, so obviously the macroeconomic inflation varies from year to year, but in recent years, really starting in 2021, inflation has been quite high. So this year, it's starting to ease a little bit in terms of the rate of increases, and so it's going to probably be around 3% this year, maybe a little over 3% this year. But starting to drift down towards the 2% direction. In last year and the year before that, so 22 and 23, it was much higher than that. I think it topped out around 7%, 8%, something like that, which is very high by historical standards since the mid or early 80s. But since the early to mid 80s to COVID times, inflation often ran 1.5% to 2%, and so I think one of the big questions is, well, are we really going to get back down to 2% or less? The Federal Reserve, has said that their inflation target is 2%. But there's quite a bit of debate over whether we'll get back to that old normal or whether there'll be a new normal of heightened inflation.
Thank you, Council Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. For the publishing manager, that current rate, what was the current GFL rate do you know from the beginning of that contract and to where it ended?
From the very beginning, I don't recall the very beginning rate.
Okay. And what is the rate now for GFL?
I defer to Deputy Mayor. Do you recall?
I don't have that information in front of me.
I believe it was around the $3 range.
Okay.
They, in their bid, the price sheet that they submitted,
No, I'm not talking about the new proposal of GFL, but the current contract that's expiring.
oh yeah, I did have that number. I do have the number. It is at my desk. I wrote it down. Is it okay if you're continuing questioning, I just go grab it? Because I do have the number.
Fine, that's fine. Thank you.
Further questions from other council members? Councilwoman Rutherford.
To the attorney, to the president, are we able to ask the owners of this company any questions yet?
I mean, I've got questions. I was just giving everyone the right to ask them first. So these are the questions that I have for the staff first.
Okay.
So a 10-year deal, what's the industry standard for length or terms of a waste management contract? And Ms. Martin may want to answer this also, but I like that a 10-year deal might lock us in versus if we make it very short term, the world may continue to spiral, costs may continue to spiral, and then we have less favorable ground with which to negotiate or lock in terms. So I'm not necessarily afraid of the 10 years, but I would like to know how common or an industry standard is the length of terms of a waste management contract.
So what we've seen, though, is either 5 or 10 years. And for us, the 10 years was because of the $1.3 million for the transfer station being paid to the city, which made it attractive to us. And then also, of course, locking in, a fee that would not increase dramatically.
and can be anticipated and budgeted around as well, correct?
Correct.
The waste transfer station that is city-owned property, would that likely generate revenue for an independent or external lease agreement or sale? Has that been looked at actively by the administration? What's the lay of the land there when it comes? You're saying that makes this all the more attractive because it kicks off revenue, generates revenue for the city or defrays costs. And per my understanding, whomever holds the lease or use of that property, they are reporting to the state of Michigan, which has a lot of requirements because of the environmental impact of landfills and waste transfer stations. You have to report to the state of Michigan on an ongoing basis. GFL has been handling that reporting for the facility. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so with the terms of this negotiated contract, should Priority Waste be approved as our waste management contractor with this waste transfer station component, them utilizing it, would they be handling the supervising, testing, reporting, and documenting, so to speak, understanding that ultimately the liability remains with the city of Pontiac if something goes haywire, but at least in terms of the ongoing routine reporting, would that be handled by Priority Waste?
That is my understanding, with the asterisk here that there's also additional testing and reporting that occurs with the landfill. Okay. So the city does have a company that does that reporting for us as well, at the capped landfill, I should say.
Thank you for that feedback. Manager Martin, was there anything further you wanted to offer on the questions that I or Pro Tem just recently shared?
This is for Pro Tem Carrington. So the current rate we're being invoiced is $3.63.
$3.63 per week per resident for trash removal.
Correct.
Okay. And are there in the contract annual baked-in rate increases?
There are the 2.5, you're talking about the GFL one?
Yes.
They were going to propose rate increases going forward.
How were rate increases handled prior?
Since I've been here, this rate, the 363, has been constant, so I would have to go back and look to see how often they increase the rates.
Okay. All right.
But I can find out.
So thank you for the feedback on the terms, but Manager Martin, was there anything further you'd like to share in terms of the terms of a waste management contract? We're looking at 10 years. Per your professional vantage point, is that a wise approach, or what's the landscape there?
In the negotiations, I felt like it was a wise approach. Like I said, as we looked at surrounding communities and the types of contracts that were being executed, with making sure that we have the proper terms and conditions within those, our contract to protect the city. All contracts provide you with an out if, the provider is not performing. So just making sure those terms and conditions are in there, which I do believe they did a good job working with Priority for both sides' best interest regarding that.
Okay. Any further questions from council about the information that we've received so far? All right, now I'd like to give the floor to representatives from Priority Waste, the company that has submitted this bid on this opportunity with the city of Pontiac, for them to make the case for their organization.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, Dan Vinay with Priority Waste, 45,000 River Ridge Drive. I'll let Vincent Hoyampan introduce himself.
Good afternoon, everyone. Vince Hoyampa. I'm the Chief of Staff and General Counsel of Priority Waste. I am also one of the co-owners.
Thank you. So any initial information? Obviously, you fielded some questions on Tuesday at the regular meeting, and I offered this disclaimer then, and I'll reiterate now. Don't take it personally that we're heated about the down-to-the-wire moment. We recognize that that's not necessarily or not mostly the Priority Waste. You're not demanding we have done this at the 11th hour. So just as a professional courtesy, thanks for being here on a Friday afternoon, and which could be a Friday evening on a beautiful summer night. So anything that you'd like to offer for the council's consideration about Priority Waste and your operation and your ability to effectively handle this for the duration of the contract.
Yeah,
What's priority, kick the tires with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll say some things that may have been said before, but again, so those that did not hear it at the Tuesday meeting can hear it again, or at least for the first time. So Priority is founded as a company that wanted to disrupt the stagnant industry, the waste collection industry that was one that did embrace technology. It had forgotten about customer service. It was telling the employees to go out in their truck with a paper route, finish the route, and report back to us when you've done so. And what we've done throughout the course of our 6.5-year tenure was incorporate technology at the forefront, bring our employees in-house and make them feel as a part of a team through our LDC program, our logistic driver coordinators. And I'll describe that in just a moment. But the premise of our success is the fact that customer service remains number one in our daily actions. So as the drivers that are out in your community care about the service that they're providing, we encourage local residents that live in the cities that they call home to work for us in service. So one of the City of Flint's one of the keys to the success in our launch of the City of Flint back in October of 2021 was the fact we had so many passionate individuals from the city boundaries that called City of Flint home, started working for us. And that would be something that we've talked about with the administration as a core foundation for your service. We would love to embrace and welcome City of Pontiac residents to service the City of Pontiac. So going back to how we work with the drivers to embrace them and make them feel as part of the team. So our logistic driver coordinators are what we call our digital field managers. They're in their offices in Clinton Township, watching over the service as it's occurring on a screen and making sure that streets are hit on both sides, watching service through our camera systems, identifying and working with residents as they call in. So that's all great and grand, but talking to the drivers before, they would get a paper route from their in-field supervisor or direct manager and say, do this route, call me when it's done, I'll tell you what to do next. And that's kind of an antiquated, impersonable approach. They're telling them, demanding them to do something, and then when they're done, they're demanding them to do something else. So with our LDC program, they're calling them and having great conversations about their families because they talk to them every day. They get to know their family members. So they, the initial call on the day, they're asking them, how is little Johnny's basketball game, or what's going on with your wife? If there was an illness or sickness, they're asking about. They truly care for the well-being of the employees in the field. So they're having these conversations, and when something occurs in the field, if there's an incident, a truck breaks down, it does occur, the LDC is managing that process for the driver, so the driver isn't having to make 2 to 3 to 4 calls to whether it be the territory manager, to the maintenance technician, to the yard manager that would dispatch a vehicle out to them. That LDC handles that entire process so that the driver and his crew members can remain safe and calm in the situation, set up any traffic cones, clear off areas that may have had that hydraulic spill, and make sure that that doesn't go into any storm drains. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of them for the replacement of vehicle or repair of the vehicle. And by doing so, they feel that they have a team supporting them behind them. They're not just doing it themselves on the road every day. So when we incorporated and put this process in place in August of 2021, we saw a dramatic decrease in turnover. We were seeing before that point drivers and labor on the back switching for a few dollars or a few even quarters more an hour because they were chasing what would get them to their family more money at their for their needs. So incorporating this in August of 2021, we saw more than a 40% decrease in turnover per job status. So instead of it being what would be industry average, we're now at like less than 10%. And of those 10%, that also includes turnover that is due to cause, that unfortunate people do make mistakes that cause that. But keeping it below 10%, we are keeping great people on board, consistent service for communities, and allowing for your residents to almost build a relationship with their waste service provider. I remember as a child growing up in the city of Warren, taking my trash out on Monday morning before I went to school, and I would know my driver's name. It was the same person every Monday. And I love that. And especially as a kid, I love the big trucks. So we're seeing that now with the communities that we service. They're building that relationship with the crews. We are getting to know the community. We get to know the children that love the trucks and, you know, in the proper settings, honk the horn or let them see the truck as we're operating. And how great is that, that when your service provider isn't just picking up the material and moving on to the next stop because they want to get it done and get home, they truly care about the neighbors and the people that they're servicing. So I'll let Vince key in if there's anything that I missed.
Thank you, Dan. So I've been with the company since day one. I'm a founder, all right? I have been involved intrinsically in every facet of this business. I can say to you that myself and my team, all right, have been vetted by 44 other city communities, all right, their leadership, their mayor, their supervisor, their village council, their city council, all right. It has gone from the size of the city of Detroit to as small as the village of Holly, all right? And what Dan has expressed and explained to you as a governing body is our secret sauce, if you will, why we have been successful. And that success has led us to the point today, all right, where I just closed with GFL, all right, it has been finalized as of 4:59 p.m., the acquisition of their remaining residential routes in the entire southeast Michigan area. So every city, all 74 at this point, that GFL was operating as today, all right, on Monday will be serviced by Priority Waste, all right? So we've been that successful because we treat our employees well, we put our customers first, all right? And at the end of the day, we make sure the garbage is picked up.
Thank you for your perspective. Can you share with us some other Oakland County communities that you service?
We currently service Bloomfield Township. We started that contract
July of last summer.
July of 23. Beginning Monday, we'll be servicing every Oakland County community other than the cities of Troy, Clawson, Birmingham, the soccer communities.
Okay.
But we will be servicing Royal Oak, Hazel Park, and Oak Park.
What are your facility locations?
We have our location in Detroit, in Hamtramck, as well as Romulus. We've acquired the GFL facility in Sterling Heights. And then we have our facilities in Flint, Saginaw, and Indianapolis.
How many employees does Priority Waste have as of 4:58 p.m. today?
About 650.
And do all of the GFL employees now become Priority Waste employees? How does that shake out?
The vast majority of them, yes, that were involved in the residential business. GFL is still staying in the commercial business. They'll be still doing roll-off and FEL work. So you will still see their trucks, but residentially they will not be. You will see that being transitioned to Priority trucks.
And so the GFL residential pickup trucks, those will be transitioned in time to carry the brand and the colors of Priority Waste, or will the GFL neon green be rolling for a while?
You'll see the names changed on those trucks, and as we roll through those trucks and make sure that they meet the Priority standard of maintenance, they will be painted. So, but it won't happen overnight.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Rutherford?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you said that you're the owner, right, and the founder?
I am one of the co-owners, yes.
So you can make decisions on the spot, correct?
Yes, I can.
All right, I'd like for you to make a decision for me if you could. You guys have for the recap refusal assistance for 50 seniors. Could you up that up to 100 if we wanted it?
Yes, I could, but there are a number of factors that are involved in this.
And what are they?
First of all, through the extensive negotiations through your administration, we've already discounted our rates from the bid to the rate that you're seeing here today.
So what I'm referring to is the no charge for the 50 seniors. Can you up it to 100 seniors not being charged? That's all I'm asking.
Yes, I can.
So will you do that?
Yes, I will.
Did you hear that? All right, that's it.
No problem.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your receptivity, and I just want to flag what you said, that you came in with your bid proposal at X, and the city of Pontiac in negotiations brought it down.
That's correct.
So it'll get there, but with the cost savings to the taxpayers. So you were feeling that was your give and take, but now you're offering a little bit more give at a much smaller subset. So that would be an amendment that we would potentially be considering later in these deliberations. Thank you for your advocacy, Councilwoman.
And I will just add, all right, the reason I'm willing to do that is because I 100% supporting our seniors as well as disabled. So, expanding that to 100, where, again, in all fairness, I know that you're not at 100 now, but if there's the need there and it's already been certified by the administration that this person needs the help, I have no problem giving that help.
And I just want to say I appreciate it because I'm not going to always be a young chicken. I'm going to be an old hen. And I
Not a problem.
Need y'all.
I hope you don't deteriorate in 10 years for this contract.
It could happen the way I go out. Go ahead.
Councilman Goodman, followed by Pro Tem Carrington.
So thank you for how receptive you've been to, making the changes that council has wanted so far. I do want to go into something which is like the community benefits part. So I do know that that's something that we cannot directly put into the contract, and that's I think that's discussed with you. I do want to ask. So I knew that one of the community benefits is that 20% of the employees who work in Pontiac being Pontiac residents. But how do you actually plan on reaching that number? Because I think it's nice to have it on there and say that that's the aspirational part of it. And I do see the required annual job fair and the report back to the city about the number of employees. But what are the the strategies, the active steps to trying to engage and get Pontiac residents to take those jobs?
Sure. Well, we're going to have to take things one step at a time. Let me take as an example how we've approached the city of Detroit. All right. So one of our initiatives is working through the Detroit at Works program, where we held multiple job fairs, multiple meetings, and promoted hiring Detroit residents to work on the City of Detroit contract. It is part of our belief that an employee takes pride in where they live, all right? And so that if we can put in place the people that live in that community to do the work in their community, we believe that they will do inherently a better job, all right? So that's why I'm comfortable stating that it's our goal to get 20%, because I'd like every driver that works in the city of Pontiac to live in the city of Pontiac, but I can't control that because obviously you have to have a CDL, all right? They have to be, safe drivers. So part of our strategy is just getting involved in community events, going out and having job fairs, meeting individuals. And that's why I'm looking forward to operating the transfer station, because that'll give us additional touch points to the residents, to encourage considering getting a job in the waste field. We go out and we do programs at the schools where we talk about recycling. We look forward to going to the Pontiac schools and meeting the students, all right, and getting kids in high school 18, 19, or 17, 18, and give them an option to say, hey, listen, all right, maybe college is not for me, all right, but getting my CDL and making, all right, and I'll tell you right now, my drivers are making between $26 and $30 an hour, all right? They work 40 to 50 hours a week, so if you do the math on that, they are making between $60 and $80, sometimes $90,000 a year, with the best benefits in the industry, which includes not only health, all right, but vision and dental. We've disrupted the waste business to make people proud of being a garbage man. I'm an attorney by trade. I had no prior waste industry experience. I looked at this as a business with my partners, where there was a need, and it was, it was the same old thing, right? Garbage hasn't changed since the great scientific technology breakthrough was basically putting an engine on a wagon and moving a truck. All right, so we've changed that motto. All right, so that it makes it a destination to work for Priority Waste. What we call the PIT, our logistic driver coordinators, all right, we focus on trying to get young people, all right, between the ages of 23 and 40, all right, to come in, and we've gamified garbage, all right. They help to make sure that your streets are safe because they are our drivers' virtual co-pilots. They see everything the driver can see because all of our trucks have 6 cameras that see everything that's going around, all right? So we know when a person has their garbage out. We know if that garbage is not out. We know if our employees have done something wrong, and we address it immediately. So historically, people, if you have a complaint, when they call the GFL, you could be on hold for 30 minutes, an hour, or more. Our hold time is less than 16 seconds, and our resolution call time is under 2 minutes. We pride ourselves in what we do, and that is the kind of energy that we do, that we use in trying to attract new talent. So that's basically, in a nutshell, how we would approach hitting those goals to bring in more people that live in the city of Pontiac.
I'll follow up, Councilman Goodman.
Thank you for that response. The only thing I want to say, and I've said it to a lot of people, which is I look forward to, if this contract passes, you working very closely with council, specifically, I say, as a young person who is in that age range, who has gone through skilled trades training before I sat where I do now. I think it's very important to make sure that people are getting those jobs, that they're being prepared for it. And I want to definitely see a proactive approach in making sure that people get those jobs in the city and that they're trained for them, especially, again, in the demographic of people who need those good paying jobs. So I look forward to helping you carry that out.
Thank you.
Pro Tem Carrington.
Thank you, President McGinnis. First, I just want to congratulate the company for becoming the biggest waste management company in the state of Michigan.
Yes, sir.
So congrats on that.
Yeah, while you were sitting in Pontiac City Hall, so
That's
we
correct.
were part of that.
Remember this
transition.
moment.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely, as you know, you hear from the council, that we're very concerned about community benefits and how to more or less get our residents involved in some trainings, jobs that they can take care of their families. And you made definitely a great point, is when you hire people that stay in the city, they actually do care for that city and takes pride in making sure that city is clean. We have a big blight problem here in this city. And those on this dais has definitely, over the years, been involved in multiple community cleanups per year. I know you said 30 free roll-up dumpsters, but I think we need 100, to be honest with you. I'm just saying. But I'm not going to ask for that because I know it's already been negotiation on that. But I definitely want to echo the councilman concerning reaching that 20% of employees being from the city of Pontiac. That is very important because some companies throw out these percentages, they don't come back and give us any reports, and they never even get close to these numbers. I just want to just say that in all fairness.
Sure.
And I hear your sincerity, but these numbers are very important to this dais, to the administration, and to our residents. Because we definitely, after this meeting and people hear that you guys are going to be trying to hire 20% Pontiac residents, you're going to have an influx of people trying to get jobs.
Absolutely. And I can tell you my turnover rate is extremely low for the business, all right? And there's only so many jobs out there, all right? And I'm not, in all fairness, I am not going to endanger my service to any community, especially your community, just to hit a goal number. Okay. My first and foremost my first and foremost goal, all right, is to make sure that your residents are taken care of, all right? I am going to actively look, all right, because again, from our business model, it makes the most sense, all right, to find people that live within the city. But I'm limited to who will apply, all right? And I will not just simply fill a role just because of the fact they live in a specific city, all right? Because I will not endanger the service that's provided to any of my communities.
Definitely, and I understand that. I'm a businessman myself, so I definitely understand that. Concerning, you said that staff has to have CDLs. Are those the only jobs available?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So within the city itself, you will have your CDL drivers, you will have your non-CDL, your loaders. The transfer station itself will have heavy equipment operators, it will have clerical work, and it'll have general labor. So, and then because of the central location of the city, it's my intent to relocate a good portion of my Sterling fleet to be based out at the transfer station. So not only will we have drivers servicing the city of Pontiac, but my intent is to have, for example, city of Auburn Hills, Waterford Township, your neighboring communities probably have their trucks based here at the transfer station because of the ample space and the central location.
All right, thank you.
Councilwoman James?
Yes, I'm also concerned about the community benefits portion of the contract. I basically think it's a good contract, a sound contract, and one that the residents, I think, will appreciate. But you mentioned that one of your core business objectives is customer satisfaction. And here is an issue that's very important to your customer, the city of Pontiac. And we're concerned about how you're going to get to that 20% that you're saying you would like to get to. We proposed that you develop a specific program for minority recruitment, because really to just say we have no control over who applies is basically to say this is not going to happen. Because if you're not actively coming up with, you're in business. Yeah. You've got an objective, but if you don't sit down and come up with a plan to reach your objective, do you reach that objective? No, you don't. And community benefits is no different. If we set targets for how we would like to see our residents get involved, this is a lucrative business. It has very good employment potential, and we would like to see Pontiac residents benefit from this business. But if there is no plan, then we're just sitting, talking and making good statements, but there's nothing that's going to happen as a result of it. So we've asked you to come up with some kind of a program to recruit where you're consciously looking at maybe reaching out to the high school, to the junior high. We also have an organization in the city who does this kind of work, mentoring and working with young people. It's called TD, Talent Development Corporation, TDC, that work with young people in the community, trying to get them acclimated to careers. If you're not willing to create a program to be able to recruit and develop talent from our community, then I really don't think you're really serious about reaching that 20% number.
I love what you just said, because ironically, on our trucks, we have pretty unique quips and sayings that are posted on the sides. My personal favorite is a very simple one: smile is contagious, because when you look at somebody and you smile, they tend to smile back or smirk. You share that. Another one of these quips is a failure to plan is a plan to fail. So I love that you said that. I know that this negotiation with contract terms was expedited. I know that it came quickly. The conversation we had on Tuesday, we're just in Friday. What I'll say, what worked in Flint, I think we'll be able to replicate here. The same thing we replicated in Detroit, we'll be able to replicate in here, is getting input from all of you, from the administration, from the public, to develop this plan thoroughly thought out and make sure that it's in action with toll gates to follow up on, and have a plan that we're not just mashing together in the last 72 hours to appease what you feel. I think, just being honest, I think for us to have tried to do that, it would have been a little sloppy, maybe not as well thought out. And I want to open, obviously, the opportunity as we move forward for yourself and any other council and the members that are in the public or the administration to give us some feedback on those, like Detroit Works programs or on those Michigan Work initiatives, those things that we may not necessarily be aware of, but we didn't come up with the Detroit Works. It was something in a conversation they told us about. So yes. I love that you want to plan, because I'm a planner. I'm a routine guy. I played hockey growing up, and I forgot my hockey pants one practice because I was rushed and I packed my bag quickly. From that moment forward, and my dad, of course, was not happy, he ran home to get my pants and came back. Well, the next time I packed my bag, I created a routine for me, which is pack everything the same way every time. So what we would do is put together a plan. Okay, how many events can we go to that are through the hiring initiatives in the city? How many schools or educational, high schools or other avenues of education that can we get to those members that are not going to college but want to go after a skilled trade? We do these things for the city of Detroit. We did that for the city of Flint and saw great success. But I want to just say that I'm excited that you are passionate about this, because it's something that we are as well.
Do you commit, it doesn't have to be bound in language because it wouldn't be binding anyway, but do you commit to meeting in approximately 90 days with 3 members of the City Council for a working group strategy session on that very point? Absolutely. You can let us know about some of the transition, how it's working through, and also some strategies that you'd like to employ that you've used in other urban communities, other suburban Oakland County locations, and just making sure that transition is working, with the priority being, pun not intended, on workforce development for Pontiac residents.
I would love that opportunity, because as a scorecard for us, we do quarterly business reviews internally of what's happening, what's good, what's bad. We tend to communicate that to the communities. Some are much more hands-on than others. Some are very hands-off, as long as they're not getting inbound calls at a great volume. They're good with maybe biannual or annual checkups. So yes, in 90 days, I can commit, I will be here with you, with other members of our operations leadership, to talk to our good and bad of the transition, and as well as what are our opportunities to bring on more people from the city of Pontiac. I already know that we have some Pontiac residents on our employee roster, and I'd love to continue to grow that, because in this space, we need good, talented, and wholesome people, because again, it comes down to providing an essential service. And when you get into the core values of that individual, which is hardworking, wholesome, there's a humbleness to it. They do things because it's the right thing, not because they have to do it. They do it because it's the right thing to do. So yes, I mean,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for making that commitment. Councilwoman Rutherford, and then I'm going to start going through some rapid fire questions on the contents of the contract.
I hear community engagement, community benefits. What I'm not hearing is, what is your rate for hiring returning citizens? Oftentimes, people that are returning citizens can't find jobs. Do you have a percentage of people that currently are part of your staff for hiring that are returning citizens, meaning people that have been to the people's place, prison, jail? And if you don't, can you make a commitment to make sure that it's open? This city has been receptive to hiring returning citizens, and oftentimes they need a second chance. And then my other question is, you have not mentioned about the positions for CSRs, customer service relations. How many current customer service relations jobs are you committing to in this 20%? And if so, is it just going to be spread out 5% for labor, 5% for customer service, 5% for actual people that's working the truck? So those are my 2 questions. Do you have a plan? Because I know Detroit Works, because I know somebody work with them. You guys hire returning citizens. I'm just trying to make y'all put y'all money where your mouth
Oh, I will absolutely put my money where my mouth is, and I can tell you, all right, I am very open, and the priority is very open to hiring return to work citizens, all right? I just today, all right, in reviewing the multitude of GFL employees that we will be hiring, all right, I've reviewed it, all right, and I gave many passes to prior felons, whether they're drug addiction, all right? Now, I will take into consideration, all right, if your drug offense is a serious drug offense and they did not seek help, all right, I'm going to look at that because I'm not in the business of necessarily hiring drug dealers, all right? But, all right, if you had a offense in 2002, you've paid your time to society, you've stayed out of trouble, all right, you're going to get the same fair shake as the person who graduated from Harvard Business.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I got felons that's going to need some jobs. And, you know,
Not a problem.
Okay.
To answer your second question, I don't, and Priority would not have a specific goal of saying, okay, 5% is going to come from CSR, 5% comes here. We are always looking for the best talent, regardless of race, color, sex, age, national origin, disability, religion. Regardless of where you're coming from, we're always looking for the best talent. We have an open door, all right? I make sure of that, all right? And so while I can't say, well, I'm definitely going to hire 5% because, you know, 5% for a CSR, because I might want to hire 3 individuals for a CSR because it just works out that, you know, these are the best candidates for the position.
Okay. Thank you very much for that answer. I've got some rapid fire for you. So the carts that the city of Pontiac has right now, they're a hodgepodge of Veolia and GFL of various different sizes and colors. Is there any immediate change that would happen or needs to happen? What does this contract initiate? So the trash carts that we all have will still be in use, viable. What would residents be expecting in the years to come, if you could briefly?
Yeah, so the carts remain with the residents. It usually makes transitions much smoother. They already have it. If there's any repairs lingering, if there's any damage that needs to be causing the cart to be replaced, we will manage and take care of those expeditiously so that they have the proper cart that's eligible to be used at their homes.
I think it's a very good deal for Pontiac residents for us to have the weekly bulk pickup. I think it's easier for your operations, even if there might be more volume consistently. I think in time it will probably lead to lower volumes, less really abandoned bulk garbage on the curbs in the off weeks. I'm a city council president, and I live right by City Hall, and I still have difficulty remembering which was the on-week, off-week. So that's going to be a great improvement in service. Just going through the various elements of the contract. So people, what's the deal with Christmas trees? That's considered bulk?
Christmas trees are not considered bulk. Everybody may have those throughout the holidays. We just ask that they get out to the curb within, I think it's on the contract, 3 weeks from the holiday. So
4
we can
weeks
get
is what the
4
contract
weeks. So
says.
yeah, I knew it was a short, about a month. So as long as they get out to the curb and present it themselves, generally we ask that the tree is 8 feet or under, which is the most common size that you see. If you're one of those that has one of those extremely tall trees, cut it in half or let us know so we can work out a plan, because obviously anything beyond 8 feet is a little difficult to load and put into the truck. We want to, again, keep our people safe.
Thank you. The yard waste bags, right now residents can put up to 10 at the curb each week with their garbage collection. Does that change?
No, that remains the same.
Okay. It says in the contract that the curbside collection of recyclables is suspended in the city effective in 2 days. So when, basically the transition. The city may elect to resume such service pursuant to other language in this agreement. So does that mean if those that have been paying for GFL to have their little recycle returnable bin with their trash collection, that ends, the charge to them individually ends, and then in the future the city or Priority Waste may consider a resumption of that. Is that a right summary of that?
That's correct.
Okay. And just in terms of, would it be too crazy to manage, or is it just how Priority handles the curbside pickup?
with respect to your the recycling pickup, yes. When you have a subscription recycling base, all right, it would require me to generate however many additional bills to the individual, whereas in your current setup, it's a single bill that I send to the community. So just from a management standpoint, from billing standpoint, it's a little bit more difficult, has its own challenges. Secondly, when you have a subscription model, in other words, you can opt in or out to a service, right? It's more difficult for my drivers to ascertain whether or not this is a house that is currently participating in that service, and then determining whether or not that house is current in payment for that service. So just that additional administrative expense, all right, just makes it really problematic when it's not adopted throughout an entire community.
Okay, so we look forward to the administration and the service provider letting us and the residents know what's the new game plan when that time comes. The performance bond was of $500,000. Is that the final negotiating point?
Yes.
Okay, so in the contract on page 18, it's got XXXXX as a placeholder. City attorney, is it okay if we make a motion to amend right now to insert that $500,000? Okay, is there a motion to amend?
So moved. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington, that on page 18, section 10, performance guarantee, subsection A, performance bond, what is currently highlighted with placeholder X's, that amount be substitute for $500,000. It's been moved and seconded. Very, very briefly, can the administration share for the council community what's the practical impact? How would the performance bond roll out?
The idea is pretty simple. It's, hey, if the garbage collection company suddenly goes out of business or for whatever reason refuses to continue trash pickup, yes, we would likely have some ability to sue the company, but if they're just out of business or they go bankrupt, the chances of us getting any funds or getting funds quickly is slim to none. And so the idea of the performance bond is if the company that's doing the collection goes under, we can go to the surety company that issued the performance bond, and they will ensure that we get money in order to, at least on a temporary basis, continue the service. And so that's the whole idea behind the performance bond.
Thank you. Councilman Rutherford, anything on this particular motion?
No, it was
okay.
another question.
Anything else on the motion to amend right now, just to put in there the language about what was negotiated? All right, nothing further. Roll call on the motion to adopt the amendment for that performance bond reflecting the $500,000 amount.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
6 yeas.
All right, that motion carries. Councilman Rutherford, you had a hand?
Yes. I'm a person that likes to research stuff, so this is my last question to the owners. On your website, you have a position that is called the community liaison. Do you have any intentions of making that position full-time, one? And two, you only have one for Clinton Township. Does that mean that this individual is going to serve Auburn Hills, Waterford, or Bloomfield, or will you be creating another part-time community liaison position?
So I'll have to ask our HR department what exactly that one is. We have what's called a municipal relations manager. Those are the individuals that fall underneath my watch. I've never heard of the position community liaison.
So let me just read it to you.
Yep.
It says priority headquarters in Clinton Township, Michigan. Provides health services in the duty role of community liaison. You will build and maintain strong relationships with the members of the communities we service. This is a part-time position. Yeah. You have it up here as of June the 1st, 2024.
So there are permanent positions. Again, the municipal relations manager is the individuals that are underneath there. That sounds like it's supposed to be under my directive. Mm-hmm. I'll get the clarification. I don't want to give you inaccurate information publicly, so I can at least clarify what that's for. I'm assuming it's for the team that is underneath my watch. So what they are the managers to make sure that service is provided. They're checking in with the territory managers for the communities in which we service. They're also working with the administration, council for programs like we just talked about for the hiring of people that call Pontiac home to make sure that we're following through on those promises. They're also working on education campaigns. So if there's something that you're getting calls on that requires educating the public, we can define or we can develop something that can be shared across multiple social platforms. So while that position that you just read off as a temporary one, mine is a permanent one, and they manage a grouping of communities because not one requires just one person.
And then my follow-up with that really quickly was, you stated earlier, about 15 minutes ago, you guys provide all these different healthcare initiatives like dental, whatever. Do you provide mental health services for people throughout with their package? And if so, which program and company you use?
We use Blue Cross, so whatever services are allowed under Blue Cross, that's all there. And as I said, it's a top of the line. So my recollection, the last time it was audited or that we had reviewed it, we review it once a year, and that review usually happens in August, so I'm coming up on that again. But my recollection is that there was 20, maybe 30 mental health counseling type sessions that are all included in the base, and there's, I think, the option for additional.
And I only ask that because this job can be very stressful.
Yes.
And so we just want to make sure that everybody's being treated. Not that I could tell you what to do in that department. I just like to know how we servicing the people that actually work there.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. On page 22, it's saying under host community fee, payment shall be made within 10 business days of issuance of the license, but it says as a placeholder name of license. Has it been identified the exact name of that license, or would you like me to amend it to have more broad language? It's by the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, acronym of EAGLE.
Thank you, Council President. It would be the operation license.
Could I please have a motion to amend to strike name of license to read operation?
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. Is everyone clear on the amendment before us? Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, roll call, Chief Assistant Clerk, on that proposed amendment.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
6 yeas.
That amendment carries. It's now incorporated into the main proposal, the motion, and the contract under consideration. A quick question before Councilwoman James gets the floor. It shows in the attachments about what our current pickup dates are, the routes that had been for many years. Should the residents of Pontiac expect that for at least the short term to be disrupted, or shall come the first week in July, will our trash days, with the asterisk of Independence Day, does the trash collection schedule intend to be the same?
The collection schedule will remain the same, so the Monday through Friday schedule that's in place now will transfer over going forward. I'm not going to say that's going to be a permanent fixture, because we always look at ways to improve. Maybe there's an old lingering street that was incorporated into a Monday service that more blends into a Tuesday. Those changes would be collaborative with the city to determine, and then notices would go out. I'll say this. Again, I talk to my routines. People are routine driven. So collection day is what we operate on, not a collection time. So remember, get your materials out at 7 a.m. or earlier, because as we get more entrenched in the community and learn more about the route structure, we may change where we start to where we finish. So if we started on one street one day, the next week when we're back, we may not start exactly at that point. So don't get in the routine of my trash truck is always here at 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. and then wait to try and meet it. Get it out there early.
Thank you. One final item. Also, we want to make sure that the amendment that Councilman Rutherford raised about the RCAP program, on page 9 under contractor operations compliance for senior/special needs assistance, there's a line that says qualified residents shall be defined as, and then C. Mendy Wesley for program details. Is that term aware or known to you now, City Attorney?
That provision is known. As you know, that this is the draft contract from Wednesday. So there are other amendments in the negotiations that we even were able to get today, which is some of those things that we listed, such as the community benefits. All of those things are not in this document.
Okay. So I make a motion to amend to ensure that the contractor operations
Support.
compliance senior/special needs assistance reflects that it's the 100 figure that is covered, not the 50. It was moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Goodman. Is that right?
It was the other way around.
Okay, Councilman Goodman moved that. I
Nice.
apologize. Councilman Rutherford seconded.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that
Thank you.
amendment?
I just want to say thank you for doing that. I know it may not seem like a big deal, but it is to so many of us. We really do have a large population of seniors and people with disabilities, and we may not ever get up to 100, but just knowing that it's there, I'm satisfactory for that. Sorry, I don't thank people often. I try to find something wrong in most things, but I appreciate y'all for doing this.
Any further discussion on that amendment proposal, putting the formality into what was discussed? Roll call, Chief Assistant Clerk, on adoption of that amendment.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
6 yay.
Okay. Thank you. That amendment has been adopted. Councilman James, you have the floor.
Yes, page 7, marketing of services, it talks about that there will be a communication sent out to a public education process so that our residents can be informed as to the details of this new contract. Can you tell us how soon we could tell our residents that they would expect to receive some information in the mail about the new contract?
Yeah, so what we can work with the administration and make sure that we have all the, required approvals is develop a brochure that talks to the details of the service. That process, depending on how quickly we all move, can take a week or it could take 3, depending on the details, like I mentioned. It's all kind of dependent on the pace in which we move. We have kind of a framework that we can provide, and then we update. And then getting the approvals is what's usually the longest part of it, and then snail mail going out, so USPS and their process. So I've seen them as quickly from starting to finishing in a 3-week period, getting it out to residents. But I know that we don't want to rush it. I want to make sure that the information's accurate. And what we can do is early part of next week get information to the proper individuals in the city. If there's a communications department, take what we have, alter it, provide them as a sample or a guide for you then to provide feedback on as the council and the administration and all other parts. So like I said, we want to get it out as soon as possible, but the great thing is outside of some services, the service days are remaining the same, so the members of the community that are serviced on Monday remain on Monday, so it's going to be just updating the key features.
Well, you're right, and as President McGinnis said, how many bags, because these are things that are ongoing, how many bags residents can put out, and how soon are we going to start the weekly pickup of, the larger bulk pickup. So those are the kinds of things that if we don't get that information out quickly, people are going to be calling us, every day about this. So if the mayor has any detail on how we can facilitate this community education process as quickly as possible so that residents know the baseline of what they can expect going forward. Not going to be any big changes, but how soon are we going to see bulk pickup? And when can they expect to see a letter about all the general information that's going to come out?
10 seconds, Mayor Grimel, if you could.
We'll get out something in the snail mail next week. And before then, I think we should be able to get something out this weekend via email and social media.
Okay.
30 seconds or less, Pro Tem.
I'm done.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, the motion before us is a resolution to authorize the mayor or deputy mayor to execute a city contract with Priority Waste to provide waste management services to the City of Pontiac's residents for a term of 10 years. We have the resolution before us for consideration. We, of course, have been reviewing in detail the contract. The actual resolved, so let me read the two resolves because this matters. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Pontiac City Council hereby approves awarding the 10-year waste management service contract to Priority Waste, including but not limited to these minimum terms: $3.85 per week per serviced address for trash removal with a cap of 2.5% on annual rate increases, yard waste removal, and weekly bulk pickup of up to 2 items. $0 cost for the refuse cart assistance program for up to 100 eligible individuals as defined by the city since that amendment was adopted. Payment by Priority to the city of $1.3 million per year over the 10-year contract to exclusively operate and manage the Collier Road landfill as a waste transfer station, and penalty provisions by which Priority must pay the city for missed pickups and other service problems. And be it further resolved that the City Council authorizes the mayor or mayor's designee, which of course includes the city attorney, to execute an agreement in accordance with the minimum terms set forth here and in compliance with federal, state, and local ordinances. This is the resolution before us. Is there any final question, clarification, or discussion? Hearing none, speakers list is exhausted. Roll call, Chief Assistant Clerk, on the adoption to approve and award Priority Waste a 10-year contract for trash hauling services.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
6 yay.
That motion carries. Congratulations to Priority Waste, and we wish you the best, especially and specifically for Pontiac, but we know you've got a lot of change and transition happening, and we're honored that Pontiac, Michigan was where that transition was consecrated.
Thank you.
We are at our second and final item of business on the agenda. It does not need a motion in a second because we did that. Yes. So any final discussions or motions? Councilwoman Rutherford.
I need Ms. Martin to get up here. I have 3 questions. This is really important. So on Tuesday, I asked about after the meeting about how are we going to ensure that this money is being used properly. And what I mean by that is, so let's say we award this money to organizations. Are we requesting for them to have quarterly reports? That's the first question. 2, this money can only be used on Pontiac residents. That's the second question. 3, the money has to, so like if I have an account for a light bill, it can't be for Shay Williams, it has to be for Consumer Energy, and it has to be a check that matches. And there's a reason why I'm asking this. In the past, I have seen individuals receive large amount of money, and they say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and there's nothing that can be accounted for. And this is by far the community's money. This just came out of the general fund. And I want to ensure every organization that we are awarding has to be held accountable if they misspend or misappropriate this fund. Let's say they use cash, you have to pay their personal bills. Is there something in the contract, that's the third one, that makes them have to return the money? And I yield these 3 important questions for clarity, and so that it's on the record that I asked this, because if I find out or hear or have proof that this is happening, I want to make sure there's ironclad things to ensure that the money comes back to the taxpayers, because it is, at the end of the day, the taxpayers' money. And those
Valid questions, but the purchasing manager is the purchasing division facilitating the execution of this initiative. Under which department, Mayor, have you, division, department, or staff, have you assigned that compliance, enforcement, monitoring, distribution of funds to?
For this topic
The
specifically?
homelessness initiative.
Yeah, that's the grants department.
So the Grants and Philanthropy Department. So even though they aren't here, is the city attorney or purchasing manager able to field those questions so that way city council can have confidence that they'll be handled professionally?
Yes. So we did discuss with the evaluation committee that we will require quarterly reporting from the agencies that will be receiving this funding. There's a sub-recipient agreement that our city council is currently reviewing that has terms and conditions in terms of the requirements, fulfilling the requirements of the quarterly reporting. There will be a template that they'll have to use to make those reports. In terms of payments, will be made in the organization's name, not in the individual's name. And then any purchases they make have to be with a check. If they purchase with a credit card, it has to be itemized receipts. So any receipts that they're providing to the city will need to be itemized so that we'll be able to see what they're buying. And so they'll have to submit that along with their quarterly report.
I thank you.
The Tuesday City Council meeting had the evaluation tabulations included. Am I missing it, or what page is the evaluation tabulation on in the packet?
The tabulation was submitted to council in a packet. I don't know if it was placed in the second one for today. But we did evaluate, we had evaluated two parts. The first part was the actual, how likely was the organization in line with the scope of services that the city had defined for the homelessness initiative. And then the second part was what did we want to award in terms of dollars to those organizations. And so the final results was that we would award $150,000 to the Catholic Community Response Team, $12,500 to the Girls Matter Doing Business as Kids Empowered on the Move, $25,000 to the Baldwin Center, and $37,500 to the E-Community Outreach Services.
Okay, thank you very much. And I do have that as attachment B. Just want to make sure that I'm quoting from it, since the action in the resolution that was moved and seconded last Tuesday, postponed to today, that we're considering now. The City Council authorizes the mayor or mayor's designee to award the bids and to execute the agreements for the Homelessness Intervention Initiative with Catholic Community Response Team, Girls Matter DBA Kids Empowered on the Move, the Baldwin Center, Inc., and E-Community Outreach Services as indicated in the evaluation tabulations. So what was just shared, that's the action that comes for the $225,000 cumulative funding that the council previously authorized through the budget. Is there any further discussions, motions, amendments? Councilman Parker.
There was a previous discussion about if the council still has the authority to reallocate the funds, even though they've been restructured by the purchasing department.
The question has been asked, is the city attorney able to answer whether it's the city council has the authority to amend the recommendations into any changes? Is that the nature of your question?
That's the nature
Councilman?
of my question.
All right, city attorney.
Yes, you do. These are recommendations that were made, and council ultimately has the authority to adjust, amend, however you see fit.
Does anyone wish to make such an amendment? Motion to amend. Is that a here? Okay. You, no? Okay. Hearing no motions to amend, any further discussions? This is the resolution to approve the bid awards and to execute agreements for homelessness intervention services. Councilman Parker?
I did, I thought someone else was going, but if I could, can I adjust the amount that I lost my page now, that the Kids in Power on the Move group get to $20,000 as opposed to $1,250, $12,500, and subtracted from the E-Branner?
E-Community Outreach Services?
Yes.
Did you say 20 or 25?
No, I want to increase the amount to Kids Empowered on the Move to $20,000.
So that new amount for Kids Empowered on the Move would be $20,000, an additional $7,500, and that would subtract $7,500 from E-Community Services, Outreach Services. Do I have your amendment correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a second?
She has her hand up.
Are you seconding?
No.
Okay. Is there any second?
A second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. So it would be a motion to amend that we would strike where it ends the resolve as indicated in the evaluation tabulations, and instead we would replace it and identify the amounts of $150,000 to Catholic Community Response Team, $20,000 to Girls Matter DBA Kids Empowered on the Move, $25,000 to the Baldwin Center, Inc., and that new amount becomes $30,000 to E-Community Outreach Services. So that's the amendment before us. Is it on the amendment, Councilwoman James?
I just like clarification. I'd like for Councilman Parker to explain why, because I wasn't sure about that. The girls, what is their connection to homelessness? And so what is the work that they are doing because I really...
Well, thank you for asking. I think as we talked about sole use and sole people that were doing certain things, the Kids Empowered to Move group is one of the sole groups that actually does, once they are out of their homes, they put them in hotels until they can find their homes. And so that was one of the pieces that I know that they need to have more funding to be able to do, as they follow the procedure that we said for outlining what they did with the money.
Okay. Pro Tem Carrington?
Well, you know I don't like to discuss any organizations on the floor, especially community organizations and nonprofits. But I definitely do not want to see us take anything away from E-Community, because I've seen the constant work that this particular community organization has done over the years.
Let's call the question.
Okay, so there's a motion to end debate on the amendment and call the question. Is there a second? Hearing no second, is there any final debate on the amendment? All right, hearing none. Chief Assistant Clerk, we have the motion to amend to strike the final phrase in the now therefore be it resolved as indicated in the evaluation tabulations and replace it with the respective amounts that was identified, and that would increase Girls Matter DBA Kids Empowered on the Move up to $20,000 and reduce E-Community Outreach Services from $37,500 down to $30,000. Roll call on that amendment.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
No.
McGinnis,
Yes?
Parker,
Yes?
Rutherford.
Yes.
Carrington,
No.
2 noes, 4 yes.
All right, so with 4 yeas, that amendment passes. So that is the new updated language and amounts for those respective organizations. Any discussion on the main motion, the resolution as amended? Everyone clear? This is approving the funding for homelessness intervention services. As the staff has shared, there are some further steps that will be taken to ensure that the funding goes directly to benefiting Pontiac residents only with regular reporting. Any final discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Chief Assistant Clerk, on adoption of the resolution as amended.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington,
No.
Goodman,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
5 yeas, 1 no.
Okay, that motion carries. The resolution is adopted with 2 days to go on the end of the fiscal year, so a lot of work to be done to execute. That concludes the agenda, but let's do a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Rutherford, who moved it?
I did.
Parker moved, seconded by Pro Tem. Roll call on adjournment, starting with Councilman Goodman.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
6 yeas.
That motion carries. We stand adjourned at this special meeting at 6:08 p.m. We'll see everyone Tuesday evening.